Wow. Donald Trump's top officials just fell apart under questioning during a U.S. Senate hearing about Trump's illegal war in Iran. During a Senate Intelligence Committee hearing, Trump's Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard and Trump's CIA Director John Ratcliffe were questioned about the justification for this illegal war and whether they'd warned Trump about the risk of it spiraling out of control, which is exactly what's happening right now. Watch what happened at this Senate hearing. Democratic Senator Ossoff questions Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard. Watch how she responds. Play this clip.
House stated on March 1st of this year that this war was launched and was, quote, a military campaign to eliminate the imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime, end quote. That's a statement from the White House. Quote, the imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime. Was it the assessment of the intelligence community that there was an imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime?
The intelligence community assessed that Iran maintained the intention to rebuild and to continue to grow their nuclear enrichment capability.
Was it the assessment of the intelligence community that there was a, quote, imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime, yes or no?
Senator, the only person who can determine what is and is not an imminent threat is the president.
False. This is the worldwide threats hearing where you present to Congress national intelligence, timely, objective, and independent of political considerations. You've stated today that the intelligence community's assessment is that Iran's nuclear enrichment program was obliterated and that, quote, there had been no efforts since then to try to rebuild their enrichment capability. Was it the intelligence community's assessment that nevertheless, despite this obliteration, there was a, quote, imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime? Yes or no?
It is not the intelligence community's responsibility to determine what is and is not an imminent threat.
Okay.
That is up to the president
here's the problem.
Based on a volume
no,
of information
it is precisely
that he receives.
It is precisely your responsibility to determine what constitutes a threat to the United States. This is the worldwide threats hearing where, as you noted in your opening testimony, quote, you represent the IC's assessment of threats. You are here to represent the IC's assessment of threats. That's a quote from your own opening statement. And so my question is, as you're here to present the IC's assessment of threats, was it the assessment of the intelligence community that, as the White House claimed on March 1st, there was a, quote, imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime? Yes or no?
Once again, Senator, the intelligence community has provided the inputs that make up this annual threat assessment.
You won't answer the question.
It is the nature of the imminent threat that the president has to make that determination based on a collection and volume
You're here
of
to be
information and
timely.
intelligence that he is provided with.
You're here to be timely, objective, and independent of political considerations.
Exactly what I'm doing.
No, you're evading a question because to provide a candid response to the committee would contradict a statement from the White House. Let me ask you about
really pathetic stuff. Great questioning there from Senator Ossoff. More questioning here from Ossoff. Let's play it.
And you noted in your opening statement you're here fulfilling a statutory responsibility and that your testimony, quote, represents the IC's assessment of threats,
That's right.
Correct? That opening statement, as submitted to the committee in advance of this hearing, stated that as a result of last summer's airstrikes, quote, Iran's nuclear enrichment program was obliterated, end quote, correct?
That's right.
And is that in fact the assessment of the intelligence community?
Yes.
So the assessment of the intelligence community is that Iran's nuclear enrichment program was obliterated by last summer's airstrikes?
Yes.
And the opening statement you submitted to the committee last night also stated, quote, there has been no effort since then to try to rebuild their enrichment capability, end quote, correct?
That's right.
And that's the assessment of the intelligence community.
Yes.
The White House stated on March 1st.
Next, Democratic Senator Kelly questions CIA Director John Ratcliffe and Tulsi Gabbard. Here's how they respond to his very basic questions. Let's play this clip.
Disregarding it. And I just want to point out something that was released about 6 days ago. This is a fundraising email from the president of the United States. And in this email here, where there's multiple links to donate money, it says, as a national security briefing member, you'll receive my private national security briefings. Director Gabbard or Director Radcliffe, do you think the public should be able to, supporters of the president should be able to pay and receive his private national security briefings? I assume these are briefings, Director Radcliffe, that you provide to the president that is now going to be provided to somebody who makes a
regardless
donation.
of what that I don't know what that document is, but regardless of what it says, it didn't happen.
Oh, no, this is new.
But what I'm telling you is that the Hatch Act would prevent me from in an apolitical role from engaging in that. I'm not aware that anything like that happened.
Yeah, this says unfiltered updates. So, Director Gabbard, do you have any comment on whether unfiltered updates of private national security briefings should be made to individuals that donate to the president?
I'm not familiar with that document, and
It's been made very public 6 days ago. We'll get you a copy here because I agree with you, Director Ratcliffe, that the Hatch Act should prohibit this type of conduct. Thank you.
Senator Langford.
Okay. And is it accurate that China is continuing to receive preferential oil flows from Iran despite the conflict as Iran allows its own tankers to transit the strait? Director Gabbard, I'm going to go back and forth between the two of you.
there has been some reporting of China, India, and other countries being able to move their tankers through the strait. However, it is unclear the volume or the measure of that.
Okay, so it sounds like it's accurate. Thank you. I'm going to move on. Director.
Senator Kelly is just trying to understand, at a very basic level, whether Donald Trump is even receiving intelligence briefings at all. Are you briefing him? Do you even know what your role is as the Director of National Intelligence at the CIA? You're claiming you don't provide threat assessments and can't say whether those assessments are accurate. Are you sharing anything with Trump? Is he even asking you for updates? Let's watch this clip.
You tweeted yesterday that President Trump concluded there was an imminent threat and made a decision to attack Iran after carefully reviewing all of the information before him. I think the country deserves to know what the information was. I'm going to ask a series of questions and just want a yes or no. We don't need any explanation, just yes or no, starting with, were you asked, I'm not asking if you did brief this, were you asked to brief on whether Iran would close the Strait of Hormuz?
I'm not going to comment on what the president did or didn't ask me on any topic.
I'm not asking if you briefed it. I'm just asking if there was a request
I understand
by the White
that.
House. Director Ratcliffe, were you asked to brief on whether Iran would close the Strait of Hormuz?
The briefings to the president and the White House typically don't come at the request of the White House. So typically when we get intelligence that we want the president to be aware of, the intelligence community brings that to the president.
Did you produce the analysis for the Straits of Hormuz?
There has been and continues to be analysis with respect to that.
Were you asked to brief on how our adversaries and allies would respond to the war in Iran? I imagine I'll get the same answer. So it's just to point out here, it's challenging to forget about actually what was in the brief for a second. We're having a hard time finding out not only if you briefed the president on something, but even if the White House asked if they could be briefed on something or if analysis was produced. So I just...
And here's Senator Reid questioning Tulsi Gabbard. Let's play this clip.
And Iran now trying to promote the deceased Ayatollah as a martyr who should be followed, and does that help them consolidate support?
Senator, the Iranians are certainly using that as a call to action. The effects of that from an intelligence standpoint remain to be seen.
There is a tradition in Shia, though, to honor martyrs. One of their greatest celebrations is the martyrdom of the grandson of Muhammad. Is that correct?
That's right.
So we might have played into their cultural biases erroneously.
Then we hear from Democratic Senator Warner, wondering why, in her written remarks, Tulsi Gabbard stated something she never actually said out loud during her opening statement, that Iran hadn't made any efforts to rebuild its nuclear enrichment capabilities since the prior strikes last June, and therefore pose no immediate threat. It's right there in her written report. So why leave it out when the cameras were rolling? Did she think no one would ask about it? Play this clip.
Thank you. Let me move to Iran. Now, I understand, and I appreciated Director Gabbard's comments yesterday about agreeing that the president has sole authority, I guess, in his bones to declare whether something is an imminent threat. I didn't agree with your friend, Mr. Kent, but I didn't, again, I agreed with him yesterday on the fact that there was no imminent threat. I guess what I'm concerned about, one thing is, even in your printed testimony today on page 6, and your last paragraph on page 6, as a result of Operation Midnight Hammer, Iran's nuclear enrichment program was obliterated. There's been no efforts to try to rebuild their enrichment capability. You omitted that paragraph from your oral opening. Was that because the president had said there was an imminent threat 2 weeks?
No, sir. I recognize that the time was running long, and I skipped through some of the portions.
So you chose to take
my oral delivered remarks.
You chose to omit the parts that can contradict the president.
More questioning here from Senator Warner directed at Tulsi Gabbard. Notice how these Trump officials keep saying things like, "Oh, we never saw that. I don't know about this. I never read that. I don't know anything about that." Play this clip.
Chose to omit the parts that can contradict the president. The president continues to say as well that he had no idea, was shocked that the Iranians had moved to take over the Strait of Hormuz. Did you provide any intelligence that would say that it would be that it was not likely that the Iranians would try to move on the strait?
I'm not aware of those remarks, and I think those of us here at the table can point to the fact that historically the Iranians have always threatened to leverage their control over
why would the
Strait
president
of
say he was
Hormuz.
amazed?
I'm not aware of those remarks.
What about the comments the president made that thought that he was surprised again? Reports that Iran struck the adjacent Gulf states.
Again, I'm not aware of those remarks. We have
well,
been
let me
and
ask you this.
continue to provide
Did you brief the
intelligence
president? Did you brief the president?
decisions.
Did you brief the president if he starts a war of choice, that the likely result would be that Iran would strike adjacent Gulf nations and close the Strait of Hormuz? Did you brief him on those two facts that I think have been consistently the assumptions of the intelligence community?
I have not and won't divulge internal conversations. I will say that those of us within the intelligence community continue to provide the president with all of the best objective intelligence available to inform his decisions.
Here's some questioning from Senator King. Can you update us on whether Russia is feeding Iran information about American assets to target and kill Americans? Does that worry you, Tulsi? She just repeats the same Trump talking point. Well, if they're doing it, they're not doing a very good job. I'm not sure what war she's watching, but America is stuck in a genuine mess right now. Play this clip.
The intelligence on Russian intelligence sharing with Iran in the current conflict. What do we know?
Senator, if there is that sharing going on, that would be an answer that would be appropriate for a closed session.
Well, it's been in the public press. This is open source that it's occurring. Is it occurring?
Again, if it is occurring, that would be an answer appropriate for a closed session. What I can tell you is that according to the Department of War, any support that Iran may be receiving is not inhibiting their operational effects.
Okay, that's sort of the first cousin of a yes, I guess.
More questioning from Senator King here, pointing out that Donald Trump has publicly claimed nobody anticipated Iran might strike its Arab neighbors hosting American bases if the U.S. invaded, or that Iran might shut down the Strait of Hormuz. Did you not know that? because pretty much everyone knew that. Tell us about it, Tulsi. Tell us about it, Ratcliffe. Play this clip.
There seems to be a discrepancy between what the Intelligence Community has reported over the years and what the president has said in terms of this action. For example, Senator Wyden read the report from a year ago that strikes against neighboring states and action to close the Strait of Hormuz was predicted by the intelligence community. And yet the president says nobody knew. And my question is, did you tell him? Anybody want to answer that question?
Senator, I'll answer the question. So with regard to briefings, the president gets briefings constantly about intelligence. Now, the comments that you talked about, I had not heard, but what I can tell you is that Iran had specific plans to hit U.S. interests in energy sites across the region. And that's why the Department of War and the Department of State took measures for force protection and personnel protection in advance of Operation Epic Fury. I think that's what's most important.
Any predictions to the president about the Strait of Hormuz? All you got to do is look at a map and you'll see that the vulnerability of the Strait of Hormuz. Was that part of the briefing, Director Gabbard?
I think the Director Ratcliffe made the point here is that this has long been an assessment of the IC that Iran would likely hold the Strait of Hormuz as leverage.
And my question is, was that communicated to the president in the lead up to this action?
And it's because of that longstanding assessment that the IC has continued to report that the Department of War took the preemptive planning measures that it did.
Well, they've stated that they did not plan for the Strait of Hormuz. The president said, who knew that was going to happen? Anyway, let's move on. Does the president take a daily...
More questioning here from Senator Warner. He asks about her involvement in an FBI operation to seize ballots in Georgia, wanting to know what authority she had to get involved in domestic law enforcement activity in the first place. She responds, "Oh, I wasn't actually involved. I was just there watching, just observing, but I wasn't really part of it. I don't even know what was happening." Play this clip.
I want to correct one of your statements that you've made multiple times, which is false. I did not participate in a law enforcement activity, nor would I, because that does not exist within my authorities.
You were present on the scene. Are the photos of you on the scene false?
I was at Fulton County, sir, at the request of the president, and to work with the FBI to observe this action that...
You were just observing. Then what exactly did you observe, Tulsi? Why were you even there in the first place? What were you doing in Georgia? More questions here from Democratic Senator Kelly. Watch as he points out that Russia is making huge amounts of money right now off this war in Iran. They're the ones benefiting the most while Americans are being killed. And Trump is lifting sanctions on Russia, letting them sell more oil and profit even further while Iran targets Americans. What do you have to say about that? Play this clip.
Brings us to the war with Iran. So this has created one of the largest ever supply shocks to the global oil supply, which has sent gas prices skyrocketing for Americans. But not everybody is losing. Directors Gabbard and Ratcliffe, is it accurate that Russia has gained billions of dollars in additional oil revenue due to price spikes as a result of the war and loosened sanctions? Director Gabbard.
That is what has been reported. I'd defer to the Director of Secretary of Treasury and Energy on that front for details.
Director Ratcliffe.
Yeah, I'm not an economist, not going to try and do those calculations. But as I talked about earlier, sometimes there are decisions made that will benefit adversaries at the same time policymakers think that it will benefit the American people.
It's clear, I think we'd all agree that sanctions were loosened, and that means more money into the coffers of Vladimir Putin.
Then Senator King has more questions about whether Trump even receives a daily intelligence briefing. Watch as this turns into a total non-answer. It's a simple yes or no question. Senator King asks, is he getting daily briefings? And the response is, oh, we speak with him about 15 times a week. Such shameless liars. Let's play this clip right here.
The president take a daily brief from the intelligence community? This is a yes or no question, I think.
Yeah, the president, I would say, Senator, in my estimation, on average, I brief the President of the United States on intelligence probably on average 10 to 15 times a week, where I have conversations with him about specific discrete issues. Sometimes there are dedicated sessions that last hours in length. Sometimes I'm briefing him on specific issues, sometimes 3 or 4 times a day. But I would say on average, my interactions where I'm briefing the president on important national security matters happens probably on average 10 to 15 times per week.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it, folks. Let me know what you think about all this. Hit subscribe